to make progress with your horse, reach your goals that you want to reach with your horse. What happens is you have a to-do list that's written down. And maybe you haven't done all those things on your to-do list. It puts us in a place where we're judging our past with our horse. And we are expecting perfection, way too much perfection, or even just a little bit of perfection that is beyond human capability or beyond a rider's capability. Or what we might do is we might be thinking that we're just going to wave a magic wand and all of a sudden it's going to happen, that we're going to reach our goals. Invariably, again, these things all lead to failure. When really what we want to focus on is experiencing time with our horse. You take every moment and you experience it and you feel and focus on what you're feeling and focus on what you want to feel as you make your little accomplishments along the way. I'll give you an example. I brought him to ride and it was so difficult because it was cold. Actually, it had warmed up, but we had had a really, really cold spell. It had warmed up, but we had lots of snow. And so there was a lot of snow on the roofs. And it had warmed up enough just to ride it from being really cold. But what happens when it warms up is the snow starts to slide off the roof. And if you know what that entails when snow is sliding off a roof, put a note for me below. So I was going to ride. The snow slid off the roof and creates huge mountains that we have to traverse to get into the indoor. So we clear away the snow. We get into the indoor and we start our ride. And as usual, Merlin always had these special requests before a ride. And the first thing was that he had to have his head rubbed, right? His face and his ears always had to be rubbed. And it had to be rubbed pretty aggressively, right? It couldn't just be a tickle. It had to be a great big rub. So that we'd get that done. And then on this particular ride, I remember he told me that the blanket was turned under, his saddle blanket his pad was turned under the saddle on the other side that I couldn't see. And that was not right. So I had to go around to the other side, adjust the saddle pad, and everything was good. We had a fantastic ride. And being a top level dressage master, he could just pick up these movements with the greatest of ease. It was almost effortless for him. And so we finished our ride and then left the indoor, and what happened? More snow came down, slid off the roof, and there we are with another mountain of snow. It's always going to be difficult, no matter what. If you're waiting for it to be easy, it's not going to be easy. It's always going to be difficult, so don't bother even waiting. Don't bother for a nice day. Don't bother for anything that you require to help yourself to ride. Rather, what we need to do is experience the time with our horse. And what I didn't know on that day that I described to you just now was the last ride that I had on my horse. Because in 2 days, I woke up and my horse was dead. A tragic death that just totally changed my life. So my message to you about making goals, write down how you want to feel with your horse. What accomplishments do you want to make? How do you want to feel around those accomplishments that you want to make? Because the greatest changes and the greatest shifts that what you're going to have with your horse is not just 1 or 2 things that the instructor might tell you, put your leg here, put your hand here, whatever. That's not going to create great shifts and accomplishments with you and for you and your horse. It's not going to be checking off your to-do list. Oh, okay, I actually got a shoulder in and we got 3 steps, and that it's not going to be checking off your to-do list. It's going to be experiencing and feeling your horse. So if you knew, and so this is how we want to do this, I want to help you get to the place where you can actually get this accomplished. These are some questions that you can ask yourself. If you knew when the last ride would be with your horse, like I just described to you with my Merlin, I didn't know that was my last ride, but I came off of that last ride, and yes, it was difficult. It was incredibly difficult to get that to happen. I felt really good. I felt fulfilled from that last ride, and I didn't know it was my last ride. So if you knew when your last ride would be, what would you do? How would you have that last ride differently? Would you find the energy to ride after you're really tired, you've had a long day at work, or you've had something really difficult happen? What would you do? Would you find the energy and would you get out there and ride? Or would you take your horse for a ride in the frigid cold weather, right? Would you go out in the deep snow and go for a ride? Or would you say, no, it's too cold, I don't want to ride today? Would you perhaps slow down to rub your horse's face and your horse's ears exactly where he wants it because it's itchy in that exact place? Or would you maybe sit in a chair and enjoy the rhythmical chewing or grazing of your horse and become mesmerized by that? Because you never know when the last moment is going to be. Because you never know when that last ride will be. You never know when the last image that you have in your head will be, in your mind will be. You never know when will be the last greeting that your horse gives you. So if you ask yourself, if this was my last ride, how would I feel afterwards? How would I feel about my accomplishments? How would my horse feel about that ride? Would my horse feel fulfilled with that ride? Because, again, don't wait. It's always going to be difficult. You're never going to find a time that's not difficult. My desire is to make quality horsemanship and good riding available to everyone. And how we can do that, how you can help me do that, is to hit the like button or the love button. That's how we can get the algorithm working to help us out. So if you enjoyed this, if this was value to you, then please put a note for me below, or subscribe to my channel, or let me know what your New Year's goals are and how you want to feel with your horse. So thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.